Hello everybody. So a quick video about an opportunity. I think you will find this video interesting. Talking about AI plays, hypergrowth AI. AI is obviously in an hypergrowth phase. The number of users are doubling every so often, but very, very quickly, and that for two types of applications. And that one first application I want to talk about is ClawdBot. So ClawdBot, of course, it must be 2 weeks old. I think this is 2 weeks old. But this has kind of taken over the internet. ClawdBot is very meaningful because it's agency. It's a big deal. It's agency. It's an agent who seems to want to be doing stuff. And so there's been a lot of mishaps with ClawdBot getting access to bank accounts and sending texts randomly, etc. But I think this is the beginning of a major advancement in AI because it's solving one of the missing pieces of LLMs and AI, which is they don't act. For one time, we have an AI that acts. And that's why ClawdBot is taking the world by storm. And people are like, okay, well, I'm replacing employees with ClawdBot. I'm creating personal assistants that actually do stuff on random old computers. And I just have, ClawdBot run on an old Apple computer or something like that. So discussing ClawdBot with AI, it's mostly built on Claude, and Claude, of course, is Anthropic's AI. And Claude, according to the benchmarks, if you look at the benchmarks, it's arguably the best AI per a lot of the benchmarks out there. I personally like Grok the best, but it's clearly that Claude technically is supposed to be better. Gemini is good. Llama and ChatGPT are falling behind, and this ClawdBot turns Claude into an acting agent, into an acting entity that actually takes decisions, responds to text, responds to messages. It's been described the past week as Siri, what you would have wanted Siri to do and Siri to be when it first came out. But of course, it's heavily powered on the back end by Anthropic's technology. And the big question is, let's say you want to invest in that. Let's say OpenAI is not going to be a thing. ChatGPT is kind of fallen behind. Let's say the multi-trillion-dollar company we're hoping for OpenAI. What if it were Anthropic and maybe XAI? But what if it were Anthropic? How would you want to invest in that? Well, it's a private company. You can't invest in it. It's $350 billion at the latest valuation on Jan 7, $350 billion. But you can't really get pure play exposure, except I will point you out to my conversation with AI about who owns a lot of Anthropic, which is behind this ClawdBot phenomenon. Well, surprise, surprise, Amazon was one of the early investors, and they have between 20 and 30%. They invested $8 billion early on. Google was a later investor. They invested equally as much, but they were in a later round, so they own about 14%. So Google and Amazon are good ways to get exposure. And on this channel, I like Google because of its VC plays a lot. Because Google, for example, has close to 7.9 or something percent of SpaceX. So Google, you get 7 or 8% of SpaceX. You get maybe 14% of Anthropic. This is pretty wild to me. So Amazon and Google are big ways to get exposure to a play like Claude and ClawdBot and Anthropic. What's another way to get exposure? And you will find this very interesting. It certainly caught my attention. Zoom. Get this. Zoom may be a way to get exposure. Apparently, Zoom invested only $50 or $49 million in early 2023 in Anthropic because they had some sort of a partnership where they wanted to add Anthropic to their teleconference calls. And apparently, they are sitting on $4 billion. 80x, they did 80x their return, which means that even though, keep in mind, my spreadsheet is not going to be favorable to a stock like Zoom because it's only growing at 4%. But if you look at Zoom, they're profitable, only trading at 16 times adjusted EBITDA, only trading at 5 times gross profit. And then, of course, the enterprise value, I have it at 20 billion. It is actually 16 billion. And then what if Anthropic gets valued at, I don't know, 700 million in about 6 months? Well, then you're looking at a company that is 12 billion. And so if Anthropic keeps going, if Anthropic is what we all thought OpenAI was going to be. What if it's Anthropic who wins this race? Well, you could have the valuation of Zoom absolutely explode because of that stake that they have in Anthropic. And hopefully they don't make that mistake of selling it or anything like that. But that's very, very, very interesting. Zoom, otherwise, for the business under the hood, I would not be interested because it doesn't grow that fast. But their venture exposure is quite interesting. I think if one wants exposure to Anthropic and to ClawdBot, Amazon or Google are, in my view, wonderful bets. I own both Amazon and Google. I find them to be wonderful companies, both of them. Google, maybe Amazon more upside than Google right now. Definitely Amazon more upside than Google right now. Google ran quite a bit, but still, love both of them. So, no financial advice ever, of course, on this channel. Moving on to another very big trend of this moment, and this moment, like, big trend of the past year, maybe not, a little less than a year, let's call it. One of the big trends of 2025, vibe coding. So the idea that you can code something with your chatbot, with your voice. And then, from this one, I will point your attention to Wix. So, of course, Replit is a big one. There's a few over vibe coding apps, over ones that are big ones. But Base44, if you go online and you look at any of the vibe coding websites, Base44 is often mentioned as like a top 5 or top 10, but specifically Base44 targeted for building websites. So, all of these small websites that you see, like, I don't know, if you visit like a strategy dedicated website, or all these new websites that seem popping up everywhere, they're made with these apps. Like very much, they're all made with these apps. Perhaps I should start working on my own app. It's like all of the YouTube channels are releasing their own website with all of the bells and whistles and all of the apps. So perhaps I should do that too. Turn my spreadsheet with an app like that and make it available if I had the time, right? Anyways, the point I want to make about that is that this company, Base44, which is perhaps one of the top 5 or top 10 vibe coding apps right now, is growing absolutely like a weed. So they're at 50 million ARR in end of 2025. They're accelerating towards 100 million ARR at an incredible speed. This is from the investor presentation. They have a fiduciary duty. What is an incredible speed? I don't know, but 7 times they 7x their users in a matter of, at the time this slide was released, in a matter of 5 months. Roughly 5 months, they 7x the users. So do they? I don't know. So we're likely at 50 million. 100 million, of course, at this rate, you'll be at 100 million sometimes in 2026. Base44, is this an app that generates $1 billion in ARR in a year? Is this feasible? Is this something realistic? Knowing that they've grown 7x their users in June 2025, and knowing that this is just crazy. Like you gotta see what this app does if you're not familiar with vibe coding. And of course, on the back end, they have an app store where you can, it's a system of clones where you can just copy whatever's created and you can adapt it to your company. But this one is the joke that I find the most interesting. They have this popular clone. You can see it's been deployed 9,000 times. It's Tuesday.com. What is Tuesday.com? It's a copycat of Monday.com, the SaaS app. So there's 9,000 people who found it was a good idea to develop their own Tuesday.com, and perhaps they call it something else for their enterprise. But clearly, a lot of the leading SaaS apps out there, you can just redesign them for your own use on an app like Base44. And then, of course, who gets the hosting business? Well, it's Wix. It's the back end of Wix who's going to get all of this hosting business. If you ask me, this is genius. Like, this is a masterpiece. So you can see somebody tried to create a little bit of a Duolingo, again, all with AI. This is learning English from, I suppose this is Arabic or something like that. So Arabic facing English language website. Sure, to me, that sure looks like it's competing against Duolingo, but it gets crazier. Like, this is an app to track your nutrition, and they have all of the stuff where you can scan the receipt and get how many calories there are in a product, etc. You can track your meal plans, etc. Some of the stuff they do. This is Gram. This is Snamgram. So you can make your own social media. There you go. You just have your own Instagram. Now, of course, having a niche to getting users registered on that is very, very tough. But think about the possibilities for influencers. Like, I don't know, you could create the Instagram of HIMS investors, for example, and maybe a bunch of YouTubers launch the Instagram of HIMS investors, and all, I don't know, 30,000 regular people on X who always debate on HIMS. Maybe they create like this gated Instagram. You could create a gated Discord. You could create your own Patreon. So the amount of things you can do with this is insane. And so that's why kids are dropping out of high schools. That's why kids are not going to college. Because if you're digitally native and you can code an app like Tuesday.com just in your spare time and deploy it in an enterprise or deploy it in a small community, it creates a tremendous amount of value. And so, do I like Wix? Yeah, because Wix, you see, the valuation is somewhat acceptable for me. It's a 0.29. They don't have over 40 yet. They're at 20, but that's going to grow. It's a company that's achieving some operating leverage, as I see in the numbers. And they look cheap on my spreadsheet. They're down 62%. And they acquired a few months back a business that 7x'd its users in 6 months. So absolutely insane. Let me know in the comments if you think this is a fad or if you think this is real. In my view, this is definitely real and definitely impressive, and it makes a lot of sense that one of the top app makers, digital apps, web apps, it makes a lot of sense that this would be combined with Wix. This is the next step of the website builder. So quite impressed by these tools. And this is a VC style investment. There's ways to get access to this stuff without being a private investor, and I love it very much. So anyways, this was not investment advice. This is not financial advice. This is only entertainment. I'm hoping you were entertained. Please like, please subscribe, follow me on Patreon, follow me on X. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.